After you take this one off your charge pipe, take off this one. Since I have my diverter valve kit up here, I'm going to leave the diverter valve on and just flip it up top. Just loosen that one, loosen that one, we can get it out of the way. If you're doing this from up top, what you're probably going to want to do is come down here like so and get up and in here. You might want to remove your intake. If you do, it's gonna give you all this room in here. So if you wanted to, that's one way, or just remove this one pipe right here. You can get your hands in here. If you do, I would release this so that way you can get this wire bundle and just bend it up a little bit out of the way like that, and like, or maneuver this, because you're gonna want to get in right here. Because once we get in right here, then you can see right here, this is your union stuff right here that's going right on. And you're gonna wanna get at these clips. And to get at them, if you're not going to be doing that, you can try from the bottom. I can't see how you get it even from the bottom, but you need to get in over here. So you'd have to wrap your arm around here, and you're gonna have to basically get a screwdriver right here to pop this union off right here. If you do that, and you do get over here, then you can also pop this one off. And if you, I mean, you're already gonna be refilling your rad, you could disconnect this one as well. And then that, you could literally, if you disconnected this one, and then this one, you could move this entire piece out of here, and that would clear up all this room right here. And I would probably suggest doing that. Again, this is gonna be up to you, and if you wanna go through that hassle. It's just a pop here, stick your flat blade in here, pop this one up and slide it out. And then the tricky little bugger will be this one, which you'll have to slide your hand over here and then pop this one, wiggle it out, and then move it out of the way. Ignore that I've taken this one off unless you want to do so as well. I've popped this harness off because I want it out of the way and I wanted to clean that gasket. You don't have to take that off if you don't want to. Come over here. Again, right there is another one of those clips. You're gonna have to try and back feed the foot. Like if you look right here, I'm trying to see if I can do it. This light sometimes actually hinders me from actually showing you things. So if we're looking here, there's the band. Right here, see how I'm kicking the foot off? If you can get at the foot of it on this side and just pull it over here, you might be able to wrap around, get that one over there, and then work this one off. We'll get that one out. Again, my clip fell in the fluid here. Now that's off. This is all free. This is gonna allow me to work on this because like I said, I wanted to clean this up because my water pump was leaking for a bit and got all over that gasket. I wanna clean up that gasket. You don't have to. And again, now that we've got this open, I still haven't taken this clip off yet, but if you want to, you're just putting the pressure on. If you want to follow my idea to do this, just squeeze right there. You have to squeeze in and pull out, and it'll slip out. Like that. And then this is free. You can move these around. If you disconnect your battery, you could just unplug these for right now, and that'll once again give you more movement. And if you want to do this, you can remove this whole plastic piece so you can see underneath here. And those are going to be, if I had to guess, T30s. Yep, T30s. So if you've gone ahead and got rid of that union, you can always throw this over here. That's that pipe. Again, make sure that your negative is off your terminal for this next part. And you'll notice that you've got this whole big strip in here, as I've been showing you. And again, if you can sink that one down there, slip it off. It's gonna be easier if we can get this. I might just take a look at this one in a sec. This one might come off another way. But either way, once we get over to here, you'll see this one comes up and around. We don't really have to worry too much about this side, but we want these ones. We want this all out of here, because if we can get this out of here, we're gonna have a lot more room around the water pump. So, take a little screwdriver like so, stick it in there, flex back, and then you'll pull on the connector by the plastic, preferably. But yeah, see how I'm pressing down on the screwdriver as I pull out? See how they slip out? Perfect. So just do that to all the ones up here on the top. If it's like mine and it's not going to do that, you can grab them and roll them out like this. And just kind of pop them out of the tang here. So that way, if you roll them out, then they won't be in here. We can move that little carriage for right now. It's like this, so just to show you, they're just sandwiched in there. You have to kind of roll them out. Just don't roll the connector completely, kind of side roll and then side roll like I was showing you. And then they'd all come out. And then remember the way these sat in there like that, so that way you can put them back in here. And from there, you can now move these off to the side so we can get up that bolt right there, because that bolt's going to be fun. And then you're going to have these bolts to get rid of. So now we've got at least got this out of the way. Now, like I said, if you're looking up there once you've removed the air intake, you will see this up here. Just trying to see if there's a way we can loosen here. Yeah, do that. Slip that over like that. So if we're looking down from up here and you've released that one and you've released that one, now the water pump's going to be free from this little piece right here. Because if you don't release this, what'll end up happening is you'll go to remove it and you won't be able to, and you'll be like, why? I mean, the other way to do it is there's a couple screws in there, one here and then one right there. So if you're looking down from up here, you'll have to move the clips and you'll see a silver screw down where my finger is. And again, it's just right behind, it's exactly above where the wire harnesses come out. And then there's one just below it, but it doesn't stick out as far. It's right there. And again, it's right where my finger is. I'll roll down here and it's right there. So if you're going in from the top, you move this stuff out of the way, you're gonna find another bolt right under this plastic tube right here. Right there. Let's show you. It's right there. Loosen this one off. And if you go to the side of the plastic tube, once again, right here, loosen that right there. There's another bolt that goes in sideways from this angle. So that way you can get access to this plastic cover right here, which is right here. So loosen there, loosen right there, that one. You'll see the plastic tube here and the wiring harness. Look at how I weaved it. Over the plastic wiring harness, under the tube, and then you can just loosen it like that. Makes it easier for you. Grab that bolt and grab the other bolt and just slip that cover off. After you do that, you're gonna notice you have one more connector right here. We're gonna have to remove that connector. Let's see if I can focus in. There it is. Sweet. That one right there. So release this connector. That way we can just go ahead and get that cover out. So see this tube right here? There's a screw right there in the back, which you can see. And there's a screw right here. Take these two out and that should release this piece right here. So for right now, you actually only need this one and then just have those two clips off. After you get that little pipe like this, you put the clip down there and you just pull it off. You might have to give it a little bit of a pull. I mean, this stuff is under heat a lot of times. And then after that screws out, you can just probably grab it right here. And this is gonna be the other fun one. You just have to, you can either work it out with your hand or try and give it a little bit of a wiggle, but you're gonna have to pull this out of here. Some people like to just pull, like I said, back a little bit on that rubber, like with your finger, like I'm doing. Just literally push back, because these pipes, depending on how old yours are, they get caked on pretty good, or baked on, as I should say. And then yeah, and then you just pull it out. And so I've got this out here, and just continue to wiggle and get that out. Work it out with that finger and you squeeze her all around. Like I said, just work it out, throw that off to the side. After you've done that, this cover, now you can just take it out so easily. So make sure before you put that cover back in, that pipe back in, that you have that cover in. This is our belt right here. And so this belt is going to have to come off and we're gonna replace it. Well, maybe you're not going to. I would suggest replacing it. Some people cut these belts off. Other people just slide it off. We'll have to see which way you would like to go with it. What I'm going to do is try and slide it off, and we'll see if that works or not. If it doesn't slide off and I do have to cut it, then I'll just make sure that it's good. Oh, look, it's gonna, looks like it's just gonna slide right here. I do not suggest using a tool to slide this off, because if you do, and you do, well, actually it doesn't really matter because you're replacing that part. But that being said, you don't want to bend those gears. So what we're going to do from this point is we're going to actually pull the pump. So you'll see the main bolts, one there, and this one right here. So one there, and we'll look around. We'll get the last couple. So if you're looking right here, I can't even light it up enough to show you. But, oh, you almost seen it there for a sec. Right there, see that connector that just came into focus for a second? There, you have to disconnect that connector. That's right there in your picture, right there. Sorry, it's so hard to focus on. There's two screws on either side of it. There's one on the top and one on the bottom. From this point, if you're going from the top, I would highly suggest this is where you'd remove your throttle body. At that point, you would literally just take these two clips and loosen them off, or just do what you're used to with your flat blade, get those off. And then there's 4 bolts, one here, so one here, one on that corner, and one here. Again, they are T30s. Just loosen those and get the throttle body out of your way. Because there's a sensor behind this throttle body. I can get at it without removing mine, but for someone else that, of course, doesn't have their full open view here, you would want to remove this and just put it off to this side. Make sure you're extra careful with it. After you get that throttle body out of the way, put it up here. There's a 10mm 12 point down here. Go ahead and remove that. And then we might even take this one off just so we can get this bracket out of the way to make your life even that much easier. Now that we've loosened that, see how much more room we have? Like, we'll be able to bend around it, do things. If you really want to, you can take this bolt out and loosen it off. And now that we have that one, we're just taking a look here. Nothing more up here. Work our way down. The center one right here is already loose. I'll loosen that the rest of the way, and let's go from there and see how we're doing. All right, so we've left this one alone. We loosened that. We took that clip off, which was a little fun. And now, after we get that clip off, you get the fun fact of taking it out. Well, what I like to do is just grab it from right here, and get even your thumb in the hole here, and you just wiggle it out. Comes out like that, and you can bring it up and out through there. Prepare for fluid, put it off to the side, and you shouldn't really have to transfer too much from this to the new water pump. Just depends on what you're keeping and what you're letting go, because there were a few upgrades. I will show you mine as I'm assembling it and putting it back in. When it comes to in here, make sure you clean this surface really, really good, because otherwise you're gonna have the leak all over again, which is gonna suck. So make sure that you clean that the very best that you can, so it's nice and smooth, so that way when you go to bolt the new one on, you aren't gonna have a leak. Once we get that all bolted up, at least then it's all good. Now, another thing I was going to let you know is I'm going to be doing the upper timing cover at the same time, because with these GTIs and, well, this engine in particular, it's well known for the timing cover to start leaking, which leaks onto the water pump, which causes the water pump to leak. So if you're doing your water pump, and you've been noticing a bit of oil on the floor, definitely do your timing cover at the same time. So if we're taking a look here, this is the new pump. guess what? It comes with a new sensor, comes with the new gasket already installed. Leave this fin protector on here until after we install our new belt. Again, if you want to, you can reuse the old belt. I'm just putting a new one in just because. And as you can see, it's literally ready to go. You don't have to unbolt anything from the old water pump. It's just ready to go. The only thing I didn't order, which I'm kind of wishing I did, I'll leave it for now, is on that little pipe on here. I wish I would have gotten a new O-ring for that, because that O-ring right there, I did not. Now, so that is one thing. If you're ordering this, I do suggest you order this O-ring new. Let's take a look here. I can totally see where my old one started leaking. See that? See the gasket right here? Look at that. It's all out and all screwed up. This one's new and everything. It's perfect. Now, one thing I will tell you is when you're doing your pump, it'll even give you in German instructions, do not oil, do not grease. So don't start rubbing this down with oil. Some people, what they'll do, and I do this with everything that is oil related. Usually I would take oil and I'd lube up the O-rings before I put them on, or the gasket if it has to do with oil. Well, this does not have anything to do with oil, so I will not be doing that, and you shouldn't either. Don't take oil and rub it all over your gasket here. Just put it on nice and dry, and just make sure that surface is nice and clean, and make sure you don't leave any residues on there of oil, especially if, like for me, my timing cover was leaking. You do not want that oil to be still running down. So make sure if your water pump went, make sure that you've done your timing cover as well, because if it isn't going, it will probably go soon. And it's really easy to do. It takes you about 15-20 minutes. Definitely worth it. Get your upper timing cover. I'm going to have a video going up on this too afterwards. So as you can see, it's a complete unit, so we can literally just take this and bolt it in. It's pretty easy. Just remember which spots you put those bolts in, and I would suggest we put the belt on as you lift the water pump in, so that way you don't have to try and loosen that tensioning screw, because if you do, then you're going to run into clearance issues unless you have a tool that's close enough to get in there. So leave your fin protector on when you're putting the belt on. Put it over the little one first, and then after it's on your little, which side is it on? Right there. Put it on that one first, and then after you put it on the smaller one, put it on the bigger one, and then as you're lifting, it'll lock up and onto the posts. For getting the new belt around the pulley, I literally lined it up and then I squeezed it in with a screwdriver from the side. As you can see, I would first clean this up with a rag, clean that all up nice, and then literally you just line it up flat and start working it in, and then you'll get the corner in, and after you get the corner in, just slowly with a big flat head against the metal, not against the belt, press it in. You could also use whatever else you want to. I was worried at first, like, oh man, what if I wreck this belt? I inspected it, I didn't wreck it at all. It's just a very tight squeeze. Take some finesse. So once you get that new belt in there, you could put the head of the pump in and then click it onto the two posts, which are up there. So you see the two posts on there? So you're gonna lock it into those two posts as you come up. Now the fun part is putting the belt over and then putting that new union in between. So last night I didn't end up finishing it because they gave me the wrong union. So if you're looking for the right union, it's that one. But yeah, so I've got the right one now. And the other thing I decided to pick up was that new O-ring for this side of the pipe. I thought I'd check and see if there's an updated version. There is not, so that's fine. So I got the new O-ring, so that way 100% every O-ring is new on this pump, so that way I don't have to worry about leaks. I highly suggest you pick one of these O-rings up as well. And we've got the new belt already installed, so let's slap this all together. First thing I would do is slide that new union into here, and then like I said, when we go up into the engine, we'll slide that belt over the fins, and then we'll after we go like this, you whip it up so it sits on those 2 pegs. Make sure you wedge that union in too on the way up. It's going to be a motion kind of like this, and then slide in. So if you look at the opening right there where your water pump sits, take something plastic or whatever you want, really. Just don't use metal because you don't want to gouge any surfaces. Just clean off that ring. After you clean that ring off and there's no gunk and it's smooth all the way, you're ready to reinstall your pump. As you can see, I've put the belt on here. Careful with those fins still. And then from there, now I can work that transition in and slip it onto the post. Again, you're gonna have to twist up a little bit unless you want to try and loosen the tension on that gear, but from all the videos I've seen, no one's really wanted to do that, and I don't blame them. So from this point, keep your fins protected. I have the belt on, it's just sitting right here. I'm lining that transition up, and we're gonna sink it in and twist it in like that, and then sink it onto the post. Then we'll get a couple of those longer bolts threaded in. All right, I didn't go over the bolt sizes. You have 3 really long ones, and then you have 1 that's not as long. This is for the cover. These 3 little ones are all for these little pipe ones, for that little pipe that's up there. And so then you'll also have the 2 that match that are in between these 2 sides, and those 2 go into the side right there. So afterwards, just torque these down. If you want, throw a little bit of blue Loctite. What I'm gonna do is click in this connector here, and then I'm gonna tighten in our mount that's right here, because after we do that, I'm gonna put these connectors back together over here, and then I'll put the throttle pipe back on, basically working from this way over, because if I were you and you were working up top, I would work farthest to closest. After you have that connector replugged in, make sure it's firmly seated, and you've tightened in your triple square right here. Give that bolt a nice tight squeeze. That one's going into metal. Next thing we're going to do, after we've put this one in and we've checked, okay, everything's good on this side, you can now put the throttle body back in, unless you want to do these hoses first. In my case, I'm going to do the throttle body first, so that way I can clean up this end and then I'll do the hoses. But since you still have a lot of room in here for your hands, you might choose to do these hoses down here first really quickly. Let's put this little hose in. That's going to go back in. Make sure that's nice and clean in there. You might want to put this little hose in first as you go in, and then sink it in, because that hose will be kind of funky to work around afterwards. At least if you squeeze it in now and then you rotate it in, then you can put that bolt in and then put the clamp on. So we got this T branch now in, which is good. We put that screw in with that new gasket. Make sure it sits in there nicely, looks great. Now let's take a quick look at these quick disconnected hose that we had right here. If you want, plug that end in to your gray connector, and then on this side, just have that, see how the clip's sitting up there in the groove? The reason why is that's a prep way. So that way when we slip it in, then you just have to sink that in. Now this one's gonna go on your bottom one down here. So just take it, if you're going from the top, you'll take it, you'll line it up, and as you wiggle, it sinks in. And you'll see that it'll only sink in one way, because there's a groove from which this locks into. So put it somewhat like this, sink it in, and then lock it in, and then put the next one over top of it. After that, inspect this O-ring, make sure it's nice and clean. If it looks like it's nicked or anything's wrong with it, replace it. But next, you're gonna put that in just like that. The spring sits in the middle of these teeth. So put the tip of that into that pipe, and again, just preload that spring like you did before. Now that we've got these connectors ready to go, this connector ready to go, I didn't quite show you this part before because this car was in a bit of an accident, so this barb was broken. So I replaced this today. So if you didn't see me remove that when I was taking this pipe out, that's why. But this is back in check now, came through. This is all good here. And just coming through and making sure, clips on there. Our 3 clips go to these 3 clips, and they're all good. So the only thing left to do now is let's throw this throttle body back in, but make sure this gasket is nice and clean. If you see any nicks or this gasket's getting old, I highly suggest you replace it. And then we're just gonna take our throttle body and screw it in. Now these go into plastic. Reminder, do not use Loctite on these because it's going into plastic. It only goes in one way. It goes in like so. How can you tell? It goes in like this because if you look here, there's a barb. If we are to look underneath here, there's a barb right here. So just be careful, don't force it. Just line it up and we'll get those screws in. So tightened up those bolts, slipped on the connector here. Again, don't go He-Man with these bolts. You will strip them out of the intake manifold and you will cry. So once you've got those tight, but not He-Man, you can go ahead and put this back on the throttle body and then have this sitting here. If you wanted to, you could put the charge pipe on now from the top, and that's if you took your charge pipe off like I did. If not, your charge pipe will just be sitting here and you can slip it back in when you do this. But what I'm gonna do from this point now is just go ahead and put my charge pipe back on, and I'm going to first put those connectors on so you can see how that's done. I'm going to be leaving my charge pipe off here for a sec. Make sure you connect this connector in the back if you disconnected this one. If you did, and then you've now connected that, these are all connected. You should have no more connectors. Feel around. If you've connected all the connectors I've mentioned, you shouldn't. This is your charge pipe connector, so just leave that there. And from there, we should be good. I mean, from here, if you want to, you can top up your reservoir, because as soon as you put that battery back on and you go to start, it's going to prime the system, and you'll hear this little pump down here start pumping. It's going to push all the fluid throughout the system. So if that reservoir isn't filled up, then what'll end up happening is it'll just pull air bubbles into the system. So now that we've got all this, go ahead and yeah, that's about it. I mean, if you pulled your intake out, you'll have to put that back in. But other than that, we've got, like I said, your charge pipe. It looks like everything's good. If I notice anything else, I'll let you know. But yeah, I hope this helped you out. I might quickly add at the very end of me priming the system. But like I said, it's pretty easy from this point. You're just going to start your vehicle and then let it pull the fluid. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks again for watching up until this point, and press like if it helped you out and subscribe for more. Well, that's it. If you've got your water pump in and you've checked and made sure and you've topped up your coolant, let it warm up to operating temperature, you'll see that gauge go up to halfway. Just top it up and that's it for your water pump swap out.